for children's story. It's time for children's story. Let's give God all the glory. It's time for children's story. We come to sit and listen and hear a Bible lesson. Let's give God all the glory. It's time for children's story. Come and listen, come and listen, come and listen. It's time for children's story. Come and listen, come and listen, come and listen. It's time for children's story.
Hi, everyone. I hope that you had a wonderful day. I have a question for you. How do you show love to yourself? I know that might be a weird question, right? How do you make yourself confident and sure of what you're doing? Do you say mean things to yourself like, I can't do it, or I'm not good at things like this, or I'm not as smart as they are, or I'm not cool or special or handsome or pretty like they are? Does that seem like it's loving or building your confidence? No. I think what helps is if we remember what God says that we are. He says that we're blessed and loved and beautiful and chosen and forgiven and His child. And one of my favorites, an heir. You know what that makes us? Royalty. Hello, everyone. Look at me. Oh, I'm getting sidetracked. Okay, let me remember. This is children's story. Okay, so let's get back to what we're actually supposed to talk about. Although I do like the idea of being royalty. Today, we are going to talk about Mark and Luke. So we're going to read some verses in both of them that will help us really understand some other things about love. In Mark, it talks about one of the teachers of the law who came to Jesus and wanted to ask him a question. And he asked, of all the commandments, which is the most important? The most important one, answered Jesus, is this. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this. Love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. I want to talk a little bit about loving your neighbor as yourself. First of all, what does that mean? Second of all, who is your neighbor? Who do you think your neighbor is? Yeah, of course, the person who lives right next to you is your neighbor. But is that just it? Do we only have to love the people who live right next to us? That doesn't seem right. So let's go to Luke chapter 10, verses 25 to 37. And it reads, on one occasion, an expert in the law, so someone who knew the law really well, stood up to test Jesus. Teacher, he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? What is written in the law? He replied. How do you read it? The man answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. This sounds familiar, right? We've literally just read this in Mark. Okay. Then it says, you have answered correctly, Jesus replied. Do this and you will live. But he wanted to justify himself. So he asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? In reply, Jesus said, A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, which was some money, and gave them to the innkeeper, and said, "Look after him, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have." Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? The expert in the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise." So, how do we show love to our neighbor? This example, known as the Good Samaritan story, has different people passing by, and each of them, who should be the people to help, aren't helping. We already know that our neighbors are those who live right next to us, but our neighbors are also those who are just around us. Those who might have different backgrounds from us or may have different experiences. They might look a little different or they might act a little different, but we are called to also help those people. We should love them the way that we would like to be loved. And we talked about how we should be loved. And if we remember who God says that we are, He says that we are blessed, we are loved, we are beautiful, we are chosen, we are forgiven, we are His child, and we are an heir. So if we are all of these things, that means they are too. So we should love every neighbor, all of our neighbors. So if you learned anything from today, remember that you should love your neighbor as yourself. And that means treating them the way that God would treat them. And remembering that they should be treated and valued in the same way that God says you are valued. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.